Welcome back to the Point. Republican Senator Jon Bumstead represents the 34th district that includes Muskegon, Newaygo, and Oceana counties. Here is his take on the progress the legislature has made so far this year. Senator, as we come to the spring break period where legislators head back to their districts, some do in-district work, some people take a breather, and after what has been kind of a hectic few months in Lansing, nobody could fault them for that. But before everybody comes back, one of the big issues that's going to be on their mind is going to be the budget. Tell me about the process. You've been around. You've seen it from both the House and Senate sides. Where are we? Are we going to have one of those earlier budgets like we've seen, or is it going to be something that stretches out into potentially into September?
We're hoping we have it done at the end of June. Or before, like we did during the Snyder years. There's no reason we can't if we put our minds together and work together across the aisle, and we need to get that done. It's just going to be a lot better for our locals and our schools if we do that. You drag it into September, October, it's a drag on them as well. We need to get that done.
Yeah, one of the things that we always try to point out during this time period when we're working on budgets and talking about the importance of when it would be done is that school districts actually start their new budget year in July. So if the state budget isn't done, they start their new budget without knowing how much they're going to be appropriated. That's a real problem for them.
Yeah, it's not good for them. It's not good for their school boards or principals, superintendents. It's tough on them all. So we need to get it in the 34th Senate seat. We have very good school districts, and they're ready for us to get it done early, like we had the previous few years, except last year. And I think as responsible legislators, we need to get it accomplished on time.
One of the things that Democrats talk about when it comes to budgeting, not just budgeting, but they also talk about some of the supplementals and the fact that there's still COVID relief money to be allocated. I know Republicans put a good deal of that to the governor recently. She vetoed some of it, just looking at the veto explanation that came out this week. What is the plan for the rest of the money that was federal money that was aimed at COVID relief? Is that something you'll be dealing with at the same time you're dealing with the budget?
I believe so. Senator Chairman Stamas, I like the approach. Let's do it slow. Let's be methodical. Let's not just throw money at things and waste it. I think the process we're going through is the right process. Small steps, where's the money really needed, and pick those priorities.
How difficult is it when you have federal money? And this sounds like a backwards question because having federal money to backfill what otherwise might be lost is obviously a good thing for budgeting. But how difficult is it for everybody doing the budget to get their head around the fact that a lot of this is going to be one-time money? Yes. And even though there's going to be what appears to be a good deal of money in the coffers this year, that even as early as next year, you may have to rely just on the revenues. And with the change in the economy that has obviously taken place, though I couldn't tell you what that change is, but COVID has certainly changed the economy. Yep. Is that going to be a tough calculation?
Yeah, that one-time money it's easy for me to wrap my head around, but it's hard for people out in the state to figure that out. The state's in pretty good shape for a lot of the what we did the past 10 years, luckily, and that helps us a lot. But when you get that big influx of federal money, we just have to be very careful with it, not waste it, and let people know this is probably a one-time deal, and let's not waste that opportunity on just spending sprees. Let's be methodical and spend it where it's really needed. If it's COVID relief, in getting that accomplished, that's what we need to do.
Is there any particular spending area where you're interested in helping funnel some of this money, even if it is one-time money, where you would like to see it go, that maybe it's already headed there or is not being appropriated there yet?
I think it's important that we do make sure the folks that want to get vaccinated have that opportunity sooner than later, not mandated that they do it. It's very important that we take care of our elderlies in the senior homes. My mother's in one, and they've done a very good job there. It's important that we get the schools up and running It's also very important to me. A big part of my life, being from the 34th Senate seat with all the water we have, environmental issues are very important. Clean water, making sure we put that money to the cleanups and those types of things.
Talk to me a little bit about this process, because Republicans have been pretty vocal about the fact that they feel like the administration, the Governor Whitmer's administration, has not included them in this pandemic response. And at the same time, there is kind of this push and shove with the legislature having certain ability to hold back from the governor. For example, on appointees, just this past week, the new director of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services was approved by the Republican-led legislature with 4 Republicans, including the Senate Majority Leader. That was a place where Republicans could have put pressure on the administration, but they didn't. Was that the right move?
That's one thing when you come to Lansing, you're one person, one vote. And that's their decision. They have to take that back to their districts and explain it. And, that's their decision to do that. And some of us voted the other way. I had concerns with some answers with the director. I didn't support her, but, she's there now. And we'll get behind her, and hopefully we can work together with her in the department and get this state opened up and get our folks vaccinated where they want to be or when they want to be.
I guess I bring that up because the other pressure point that the legislature could bring to the governor would come with the budget. Is it your belief that you guys will try to put pressure on the governor, or are you just going to try to get a budget put together?
I think it's going to be a sound fiscal budget. There's not going to be a lot of frills in it. There's not going to be projects in it. I think it needs to be focused on COVID, businesses that have been affected by COVID, and employees that have been affected by COVID. That should be our number one priority now, not different projects throughout the state, but safety, and protection of and getting schools open and those types of things. That's what that money's for, is COVID relief. Let's concentrate on that and move forward.
All right, let's talk about the general feeling in Lansing. You served in the House, and now you're over in the Senate. You know a lot of the folks that you're serving with and have known them for a number of years. What is the relationship like over there? Because for those of us who observe, and this year having to have observed from afar, it seems to me that relations aren't perhaps as good as they could be between Republicans and Democrats. What's your take?
I served 6 years in the House. I'm going in my 3rd year in the Senate. And we've always made it a priority in our office. Do your constituent work hard for your district, fix those problems before you go to Lansing and try to fix that. We've always made it a point, no matter who the governor was, try to work with the directors because they're appointed by the governor. And and we find we can get more accomplished by working with the directors in the departments than we can if you're sitting there battling each other. And it's a priority for us to do constituent work. And you can't do that if you're constantly battling and making everything you do political. And it's not good policy. And I don't, for some reason, I don't feel good all the time if you're battling people. Let's try to find common ground. But, working for the folks of the 34th Senate seat, I can guarantee them if you don't work with the directors, it's hard to get anything accomplished. And working across the aisle, sometimes you have to do that. There's give and take in politics.
Let's talk about a group of bills that you were part of that have been introduced that would deal with election reforms. And I want to say that these have just been introduced. I have only read the headlines of them, haven't read the text of the body of the bills. But the Democratic reaction was predictable and swift. They call it voter suppression. You call it what?
I think it's open and fair elections. I think people want to see the voter ID. Those things are very important. They want to see poll challenge. One of my bills was poll challengers and poll watchers have rights, and they should have that. You should be able to go in and do certain things and be able to watch. You should be able to make audits open to the public, and that needs to be bipartisan as well. But there's a whole list. I think there's 38 plus bills, over 30, and a lot of them are just common sense bills that we need to enact. So so we can get the next election. You know, in Michigan, it wasn't too bad in certain areas. The reporting needs to be done the next day, dragging these elections out, you know, the counts out for weeks at a time. It's just not efficient, and it's just opens the door for too much fraud and abuse. So we just need to clean up certain areas. And I think this package of bills does a lot of that.
When you look at those bills, and you no doubt have heard some of the response from Democrats already, what do you think the odds are that the governor is going to be on board with a substantial amount of these?
I think a lot of them should be. I don't know why the Democrats would fight on a lot of those, and I think the governor will sign a lot of them. You know, I'm sure there's several she won't, but that's why we get elected, and you have to go back and forth a little bit, and you know, sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose, but it's really all about the fairness. We just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to vote. It's a fair election, and every vote counts, regardless if it's Democrat or what party you're voting for. It just needs to be a fair election.